Part 1. Whispers from the shadows, the secret fuel behind our darkness. It began with a whisper in the dark, a voice not outside of me, but inside. It didn't scream, it didn't threaten, it simply suggested. And that suggestion turned into a thought. The thought became a story, and the story became a belief. Before I knew it, I was living inside a reality I never consciously chose, a reality shaped by fear, shame, and hidden pain. That was the moment I realized our inner demons do not come from nowhere. They are fed, and the energy that feeds them is very real, very subtle, and often very spiritual. We don't like to speak of dark spiritual energy because the very idea unsettles us. We want our spiritual journeys to be filled with light, with peace, with transcendence. But what if the greatest spiritual deception is that the darkness isn't part of the path? What if the real work is not to avoid it, but to understand how we invite it, how we feed it, and how we can finally stop nourishing what is destroying our inner world? The truth is this: every time we suppress our truth, every time we cling to guilt, we create openings, cracks in our energetic field where dark spiritual energy slips in like smoke through broken glass. Inner demons are not always dramatic. They are often quiet. They show up as self-sabotage, addiction, endless doubt, or chronic anger. They are not monsters with claws. They are aspects of ourselves that have merged with energies that do not serve us. And no, this is not superstition. This is spiritual physics. Energy is never neutral. Every thought, every emotion, every action carries a frequency. And some frequencies are like food to what many ancient traditions call parasites of consciousness. Have you ever had a thought that felt foreign, like it didn't belong to you, but somehow it attached itself and dragged you into a spiral? That is not imagination. That is influence. And influence is very real on the spiritual plane. Dark energy doesn't need to possess your body, it only needs to possess your narrative. It whispers seductively, "You're not good enough. You'll never change. Why even try?" And the moment you agree even a little, it feeds. So the question becomes, what have you agreed to silently that has been draining your power for years? What inner contracts have you signed unknowingly, contracts written in the ink of fear, shame, or trauma? Because those agreements become portals. And once opened, they allow dark spiritual energy to not just enter but to stay. And staying is how it grows strong.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Dark spiritual energy thrives on suppression. It feasts on what's unspoken, what's repressed, what's buried. That's why healing is not just about light, it's about excavation. We must dig. We must face the shadows we've locked away, not to destroy them, but to reclaim them. Because here's the truth: demons are not born in hell. They are born in silence. In the silence where we refuse to speak our pain. In the silence where we pretend everything is fine while dying inside. We must be brave enough to look at the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable. The jealous part, the bitter part, the cruel part. Not to shame them, but to understand them. Because those parts didn't appear out of nowhere. They were created, fed, and often they are carrying wounds that are not even ours, but inherited from generations of unresolved stories. When we begin to see our inner darkness not as the enemy, but as the result of a deeper hunger, a hunger for love, for presence, for honesty, we begin to take back control. We stop feeding the soul, but this requires vigilance, because dark spiritual energy is patient. It waits for our weakest moments. It waits for the late nights when we're exhausted, the arguments where we lose control, the scrolling, the drinking, the numbing. Darkness is most powerful when we are unconscious. That's why awareness is the most radical spiritual act. To be awake in a world that profits from your numbness is to become a danger to the forces that feed on your suffering. And yes, there are forces. Call them what you will, entities, frequencies, egregores, or simply patterns. They are real. They are fed collectively through mass fear, collective despair, and cultural trauma. Have you noticed how certain environments drain you, not physically, but energetically? Certain people who always leave you feeling heavy, confused, or lost. This is not about blame. This is about resonance. You are either feeding your inner light or feeding your inner shadow, and both are always hungry. Which one you feed is not just a choice, it is a habit, a spiritual rhythm. And here's the deeper truth. Dark spiritual energy often disguises itself as light. It wears the mask of spiritual ego. It whispers, "You are more awakened than them. You are superior. You deserve more." It flatters your wounds. It builds you up, only to isolate you. And once you are alone in your illusion, it begins to feed without resistance. That's why humility is protection. Not false humility, but the genuine humility that says, "I am still learning. I am still healing. I am not above the work." True spiritual power is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is grounded. It is clear. It is discerning. And discernment is the shield we must sharpen if we are to walk this path without being consumed. Because the path is not just filled with love and light, it is lined with tests, temptations, and mirrors. Every demon we meet is a mirror, a reflection of something we've denied, avoided, or misunderstood. So ask yourself now, what am I feeding in the darkness of my mind? What stories do I keep repeating that give life to my pain? What emotional patterns do I indulge that drain my spirit? What pleasures do I chase that leave me emptier than before? These are not questions of morality. They are questions of energy. And energy is the language of the soul. When you begin to see your life in terms of energy, everything changes. You recognize that every word you speak carries weight. Every emotion you entertain leaves a residue. Every choice you make either fortifies your light or starves it. And the demons know this. They do not lurk in the shadows of forests, they lurk in the shadows of our own consciousness. This is why solitude can be terrifying. Because in silence, you meet not just your soul but your fragments. The echoes of your pain, the voices of your unmet needs. And if you're not prepared, you'll mistake those voices for truth. But they are not truth, they are trauma. And trauma, when unhealed, becomes the feast of dark spiritual energy. But when faced with courage, trauma becomes the doorway to liberation. We must become spiritual warriors not with swords, but with presence. Not with force, but with truth. We must learn to sit with our discomfort without running, to name our pain without dramatizing it, to witness our darkness without becoming it. That is the path of the awakened one, not to be perfect, but to be present, especially when the shadows rise, and they will rise. Because the more light you carry, the more darkness you will encounter, not because you are cursed, but because your light reveals what others cannot see. It stirs what others have buried. And in doing so, you become a healer not by fixing others, but by refusing to abandon yourself. That refusal starves the demons. It silences the whispers. It closes the portals. So now the question is, are you willing to stop feeding the lie? The lie that you are unworthy, broken, or alone. The lie that your pain defines you. The moment you stop feeding that lie, your demons shrink, your light expands, and your spirit begins to reclaim the territory it lost. But this is only the beginning. Because once you stop feeding the inner demons, you must learn how to transform them. Part 2. The Alchemy of Shadows, transforming the fuel of darkness into spiritual power. If you've made it this far, it means something in you is ready not just to understand the shadows, but to work with them. And that changes everything. Because now the demons are no longer just tormentors, they are teachers. They are distorted aspects of your own psyche, entangled with dark energy, crying out not for destruction but for transmutation. And transmutation is the highest form of spiritual mastery, not to escape the shadow, but to change its nature. To do this, we must first understand what dark spiritual energy actually is. It is not evil in the cartoonish sense. It is not a red-skinned monster with horns. It is a frequency that is out of alignment with truth, love, and divine order. It is the result of separation, distortion, trauma consciousness that has become twisted. And when we are in pain, we become energetically compatible with that distortion. Dark energies are not just out there. They are attracted to resonance. They seek hosts who are vibrating at frequencies of fear, rage, shame, or apathy. These emotions, when left unprocessed, become energetic food. So the first step in starving the demon is not to fight it, it's to change your frequency. And the fastest way to raise your frequency is by telling the truth. Not the truth others want to hear, but the truth your soul has been whispering to you in the quiet moments. How much of your life have you built around avoiding pain? How many smiles have you faked? How many times have you said "I'm fine" while dying inside? That is where dark energy finds room to enter. Because every lie you tell yourself is an invitation for distortion to take root. And once it does, it begins to grow roots made of old wounds, unspoken grief, unacknowledged rage. We must become spiritual alchemists. Alchemy is not about magic in the traditional sense, it is about transformation. It's about turning the base metal of your suffering into the gold of wisdom. And the fire that makes that possible is awareness. Awareness is the crucible. The moment you sit with your pain without judgment, without trying to fix it or flee from it, you begin the alchemical process. You begin to purify the energy. That's why meditation is not just a practice, it's a battleground. Because when you sit in silence, your shadows rise. The voices of your inner demons become louder, more agitated. Why? Because they feel your attention. And attention is power. They've been feeding in the dark, and now your awareness is shining a light into their feeding ground. That's when the resistance comes. But resistance is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're getting close to the root. The root is always emotional. It's never just the story, it's the feeling beneath it. The guilt you carry from childhood. The grief you never cried. The anger you swallowed for years. These are not just emotions, they are frequencies. And if not transmuted, they become fuel for your inner demons. They become the echo chamber for dark spiritual energy to loop its messages in your mind. So how do we begin to transmute them? First, by feeling them fully, not by wallowing, not by indulging, but by facing them like a sacred fire. You must be willing to sit with your rage, your shame, your grief, not as enemies, but as messengers. Ask them, what do you want me to see? What are you protecting me from? What memory are you guarding? These questions unlock doors. And behind those doors are the fragments of your soul waiting to be reclaimed. Reclaiming your soul fragments is the work of a lifetime. Every time you integrate a part of yourself that you once rejected, you become more whole. And the more whole you become, the less food there is for your inner demons. They shrink not because you defeated them, but because you no longer need them. They were never the enemy. They were the protectors of your pain. And once the pain is seen, honored, and healed, they are released. But here's something most spiritual teachings won't tell you. Sometimes the demon isn't yours. Sometimes the darkness you carry was passed down through bloodlines, ancestral pain, generational curses, energies that have been moving through your lineage for centuries, waiting for someone strong enough to break the cycle. And maybe, just maybe, you are that person. Have you ever felt emotions that made no sense? Fears that didn't belong to any personal experience? That's ancestral energy. And dark spiritual forces often attach themselves to those energies because they are the most hidden, the most denied. To clear them, you must go deeper than your personal healing. You must become a healer for your lineage. This doesn't mean fixing your family, it means honoring the pain they couldn't process and choosing to transmute it instead of passing it on. Ritual can help here. Not dogma, not religion, but intentional acts of spiritual clarity. Light a candle for your ancestors. Speak their names, acknowledge their suffering, and then declare out loud, "The pain stops with me. The feeding ends now." These words, when spoken with full presence, reverberate through dimensions. They send a signal to the dark energies that the feast is over, that you are no longer a host for what is not yours. But even after you begin this work, you must stay vigilant, because transformation is not linear. There will be days when the shadows creep back in, when the voices return, when the old habits call your name. That's why integration is key. Integration means creating new habits, new rituals, new environments that support your highest frequency. It means surrounding yourself with people who remind you of your light, not people who feed your wounds. Ask yourself, who in my life feeds my light? Who feeds my demons? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary. Because your environment is a reflection of your inner state. If your life is filled with chaos, drama, toxicity, do not just look outward, look inward. What part of you still believes that suffering is normal? What part of you still thinks love must be earned through pain? Your inner demons feed on those beliefs, and dark spiritual energy reinforces them through synchronicities, through patterns, through emotional loops. That's why breaking the pattern is a revolutionary act. It disrupts the frequency, it interrupts the feeding, and it creates space for something new, something sacred to emerge. And that sacred thing is your true essence, your soul, untouched, unbroken, undistorted. It has been there all along, hidden beneath the layers of programming and pain. And once you begin to feel it, just a glimpse, you will understand why the demons fought so hard to keep you in the dark. Because your true light is not weak. It is terrifying to the forces that feed on your ignorance. So what will you do with that light? Will you dim it to make others comfortable? Will you hide it because it makes your shadows uncomfortable? Or will you let it burn through every illusion that ever told you that you were less than divine? This is the alchemy. This is the real work. Not just healing your wounds, but reclaiming your power. Not just resisting the darkness, but transforming it into wisdom. Because here's the secret. The parts of you that were once demonized hold the keys to your greatest gifts. Your rage, when purified, becomes courage. Your shame, when healed, becomes compassion. Your fear, when transmuted, becomes intuition. Nothing is wasted, not even the darkness. Every shadow, every demon, every ounce of dark energy you've ever encountered, it all becomes part of your medicine if you're willing to do the work. And the work is not a weekend retreat. It is a lifestyle, a devotion, a sacred commitment to never abandon yourself again. Because that's how the demons win, through abandonment. But when you choose to stay, to witness, to love even the most broken parts of yourself, you become untouchable. Not because you're perfect, but because you were present. and presence is the one thing dark energy cannot survive. The alchemy begins now, but the journey is far from over. Part 3. The final gate, becoming the master of your inner world. There comes a moment in every true spiritual journey when we are no longer afraid of the dark, not because it disappears, but because we have seen what lies behind it. We have stared into the abyss, and instead of monsters, we found mirrors. We looked into the face of the demon and realized it was shaped by our own pain, our own story, our own forgotten voice. And in that moment, something ancient awakens within us. The sacred warrior, the mystic alchemist, the seer who no longer runs but stands rooted and ready. You must understand this: your inner demons do not survive on their own. They are sustained by your willingness to remain unconscious. Every time you bypass your truth, every time you numb what aches, every time you silence your intuition, you are feeding them. But the moment you become fully conscious of your thoughts, your choices, your patterns, that food supply begins to starve. Awareness is not passive, it is an active force, a blade that cuts through illusion. We've been taught to believe that spiritual growth is about rising, ascending, escaping. But the most profound transformations happen when you descend, when you go down into the places you've avoided for years. It's in the descent that you discover your real strength, not the strength to avoid pain, but the strength to hold it without becoming it. That is the true initiation, and most never make it that far, because the descent feels like death. And in many ways it is. It is the death of the false self, the persona you built to survive, the masks you wore to belong, the illusions you clung to so you wouldn't have to feel the raw truth of your own longing. But when those parts die, what remains is real. What remains is unshakable. And it is there, in the ashes of who you thought you were, that your true power begins to rise. So ask yourself now, with absolute honesty, what part of me is still feeding the illusion? Is it the part that needs to be liked? The part that avoids confrontation? The part that fears being alone? These parts are not wrong, but they are outdated. They were built to protect a younger version of you. But that version is not in charge anymore. You are. And the longer you let your inner child steer the ship, the longer your inner demons stay in control. Because demons don't just feed on emotion. They feed on stagnation, on avoidance, on your refusal to evolve. They cling to the parts of your life that remain unexamined, the relationships you know are toxic but won't let go of, the habits you know are draining you but still indulge, the stories you tell yourself to justify staying small. These are the contracts, silent agreements that say, I'd rather be comfortable than free. But freedom is not comfortable. It's disruptive. It's raw. It requires you to let go of everything familiar, everything safe. And in that letting go, your demons will scream. They will tell you you're crazy, that you're making a mistake, that you're going to lose everything. Not because it's true, but because they only know how to survive inside your fear. Without it, they have no power. Spiritual mastery is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about choosing moment by moment to respond from your truth instead of your trauma, to create instead of react, to feel instead of flee. And this is where everything changes. Because once you stop feeding your inner demons, you begin feeding your soul. And the soul is insatiable. It craves truth, beauty, alignment, depth, and it will not settle for anything less. You'll begin to notice a shift. Certain people will fall away. Certain environments will feel intolerable. Certain conversations will suddenly feel like noise. This is not arrogance. This is resonance. Your frequency is changing, and what once fed your wounds will now starve your spirit. Let it go. Let it all go. Because you are being prepared for something greater, a life that reflects your highest vibration, not your lowest memories. And with this new frequency comes new responsibility. Because now you are no longer a seeker. You are a keeper of light, a guardian of truth. And that means your choices matter more than ever. Every thought you allow, every word you speak, every boundary you uphold, it all ripples into the field. You are no longer just healing for yourself. You are healing for others, for your lineage, for the collective. That's why the darkness will test you even more once you awaken. Because now you are a threat, not to people but to the unconscious patterns that have ruled humanity for centuries. Your light disrupts the system. Your clarity breaks the spell. Your presence becomes a mirror that forces others to meet their own shadows. And some will resist you, some will reject you. But do not let that dim your fire. Remember, the brighter the light, the longer the shadow. But the light always wins because the shadow is only ever the absence of light. And now, you are the light bringer. Not in a grandiose way, but in the quiet, consistent way that changes everything. You hold the power to shift the energy of a room, to awaken someone with a single sentence, to heal through your frequency alone. That is your gift, but it is also your responsibility. So protect your energy, not from a place of fear, but from a place of sovereignty. Be intentional with your time, your attention, your rituals. Feed your soul daily with silence, with beauty, with truth. Let your body become a temple. Let your words become spells of liberation. Let your life become a prayer that echoes across dimensions. And above all, stay connected to spirit, to earth, to your breath. Because disconnection is how demons grow. They isolate you. They convince you that you are alone, unworthy, unlovable. But that is the oldest lie in the book. You are never alone. You are surrounded by a field of intelligence that knows your name, your mission, your truth. And when you align with that truth, no dark force can touch you. The demons may still whisper, but they will no longer rule. They may still circle your field, but they will not enter. Because you are no longer a host. You are a sovereign soul, a sacred warrior, a living temple of light. And once you remember that, truly remember it, your demons become your disciples, your darkness becomes your strength, and your life becomes your legacy. So I leave you with this question, the deepest one of all. What would your life look like if you stopped feeding your fears and started feeding your freedom? Let that question echo through your bones. Let it guide your next breath. Let it shape your next choice. Because the final gate is not outside of you. It is within you. And you already hold the key. The darkness bows to you now. Because you have remembered who you truly are.